The topic of presentation here is robot framework. The key areas that I address here is what is robot framework, a high level architecture of robot framework, and why we have to choose where is the application of a robot framework. Robot framework is a open source test automation framework. The syntax is human friendly because it uses natural language, something called keywords, which is more or less a business user and can actually understand much better. And that's why it's also called acceptance test driven framework, which I'll be addressing later. Along with this, it supports extending through libraries. So what it means is you write a test case and you want to enrich it, you want to extend, you have to add, if you have to add more test cases on top of your test case in robot framework, extension is easy. And this is where you may have to know Python or Java programming language to run more rich features of the test case. And it integrates with other tools, and that's why it becomes a comprehensive test automation framework. What it means is you can make the robot framework sit on top of say let's say a PowerShell SDK, a PowerShell tool. So you can make PowerShell PS, the command line interface, and robot framework and work as an integration test framework. So that's the whole picture out of the third point. And yes, it has a rich community that supports third-party libraries. Now, coming to the second point, this is my first point. What is robot framework? Second is high-level architecture. Again, robot framework is a generic application and technology independent framework. What actually you mean here is application technology independent framework. It means when you have robot framework running, it does not know what is it under it, what is it testing. So the layer of abstraction is highly modular. If you look at the last point here, the highly modular architecture illustrated in the diagram in the next slide. So the abstraction level is so pure, such that the application and the or the robot framework by itself is agnostic. You can say it does not know what it is testing, and the test frame, the test bed test, it is called test underscore setup, SUT. So it is agnostic to it. And as I have referred, it is acceptance test driven development framework, and BDD also. Now, coming back to ATTDD, it means that a business user, a user of let's say you have an application and you want to test it at the user end, and robot framework fits in for the use case in that scenario, and also business user. So in this scenario, you don't need to know much of a programming language. Then it is also behavioral driven design framework. It means it is much more deeper. You can actually associate with the developer also using robot framework. Other than the business use case and the user, and then you can also associate with the developers of the application, the application of what you have to test. Let's say I have an application, I want to test it, and using robot framework, you can actually integrate much better with the developers of that application. That's the whole idea about it, and focuses on the system's behavior from a user perspective. It's an end-to-end framework, you can say. Yeah. Now, this is the architecture of the robot framework. Robot framework is, let's say, it's somewhere below the test data is of our robot framework. That's my topic of presentation. Now, what is test data? It is nothing but a script. When you have a robot framework, how do you run it? You have to have a test script. So I have the installation already ready. I have a test script The test script contains test data, and that is what it means. Test data is simple, easy to use, tabular format. Now, robot framework installation done. I have the robot test framework, test data, I have the test libraries. So this is where you can write more test cases or extend the test cases using libraries. So reusability concept is presented here. So using test libraries, you can actually make it a full-fledged uh, test suite level, structure. So, uh, like like I mentioned earlier, you can bring in a PowerShell SDK and make it run as a test tool here, and add some Python files along with the robot framework and make it much more uh, extendable. And of course, system under test is what we are testing. So let me read out this points, bulleted points. Robot framework is simple, easy to use, and tabular format, easy to use. Robot framework is When the robot framework is started, it processes the data, executes the test cases, and generates logs and reports. So the test data, when you run the test case, the logging and reporting is another very important feature or useful feature of robot framework. When we run my sample hands-on, we'll get to know how good formatting is. The core framework does not know, third point, anything about the target and the test, and that is why we say application and technology independent framework. That means it's very easy to plug and play, plug and run the automatic. Remove the system under test and bring in something else at very high speed. So the development, becomes the development life cycle is very fast here. The libraries can either use application interface directly or use lower level. So this is again test libraries. So you can bring in Java, you can bring in Python, you can bring in another external third-party tool and integrate and make it more comprehensive test framework. Why do I Why do I need robot? This is a fundamental question from the senior stakeholders. Why do I have to choose robot framework over others? Easy to use, tabular syntax. We have addressed this. Creating test cases in a uniform way provides ability to create reusable high-level keywords from the existing reusability. Second point, logging and reporting, powerful feature. Third point, platform and application independent. We have addressed it. Fourth point, now where it tests, what all you can test. Web application. Robot provides support for testing of web application, REST API, mobile application, running processes, connecting to remote systems. You can actually test running processes also. And you can connect using this. There's a remote robot framework library available to log in into a remote system and execute a test. Provides the last one but one bulleted points, provides test case and test suite level setup and tear down. What it means, we have one test cases, we can have setup and tear down for the test cases. Then we have a bunch of test cases, we can have setup and tear down for the bunch for the folder. What is setup and tear down? It's an initialization, it is a cleaning up process. We need to run the let's one test case, you may need some specific generic initialization environment at the execution time, and we may not need later. So you can keep it at the individual test cases, and that you can put that in setup. The other thing you can put in tear down, set, initialize, remove, clean up at the test case level, at the folder level. So that's what it means. Again, we have addressed this. The modular architecture supports creating tests even for applications with several diverse interfaces. Yeah, this is it. So we have addressed the theory out of it, the part of it. Now I'm going to move to the, I'm going to take a use case and I'm going to run the test case in a robot framework lab environment. The use case I have chosen here is there is a REST endpoint. REST endpoint, meaning a, some kind of service listening, and you can you can post or you can get some data. You can get to know. You can interact with that listening server. So what I am choosing is internetheroku.com app. This is a system under test. This is my system under test for my robot framework. And in this, I'm choosing basic auth. I'm choosing basic auth. It's a authentication test case where I will be passing username and password as admin and validating. This is my manual test case. I'm going to internetherokuapp.com. I'm clicking on this. It will give me username admin. So username admin, then admin. Okay. This is my validation point at the manual end. This is the manual end. I want to automate this use. So first, what did I go? I went to the internetherokuapp.com. Then I clicked on this. I now it's already in a session, and I submitted my admin as the credential, and I logged in. So this is my base URL. Now let me go to VS Studio. This is Visual Studio. This is my Visual Studio editor, an IDE, integrated development environment, which I am using for writing my test cases in robot framework. So what do I need? What do I need? I need a VS IDE. I need a Python. I'm assuming we have installed Python. So I will go to my folder. I'll open a folder in my VS automation. I'm running in this folder. Next, my next step is I want to create a virtual environment, meaning virtual environment is used to create independent package dependency project. Basically, it isolates, it helps you to work on multiple projects without the dependency conflicts. So I can work on automation 1, automation 2 with different versions of the package. So that's where my virtual environment helps. This is the command. Python -m create virtual environment in the current directory. So I have got this virtual environment. Now next I have to go and select my Python interpreter for this virtual environment. No, not this. I have to go. I already have created the virtual environment. I think I have to go to the appearances command palette and select interpreter. I have to go enter the path, go here, and I have to choose in my automation. This is my automation path, and this is where the virtual environment is created. And this is the Python. I go to my terminal in my VS Studio. I have it's like here CD or I can say scripts activate the virtual. I'm activating the virtual environment. I've created the virtual environment and I've activated it. My next step is create the install the Python, not Python, robot framework package. It's going to install robot framework package. We are creating an environment where we will simulate this test case that I've showed you in herokuapp.com. clear this. Stop here. Now I'm going to create pip install. I need this another package called request because robot framework requests. This is another package that is needed to make request calls for the REST API. This is also done. Now I have to create a test cases as I have explained here in my test data. This is where test data, if you can see this, test data is my script, and this is where my robot framework is ready and I have to create test data. So I go to my automation folder, I go for file, new, we are creating a new file, .robots file. So let's name it as test case basic auth .robot. Now any robot file will have basically structured dot settings. This will be one structure of the robot file. This will be variables. This will be another structure. Test cases will be another structure. So there will be at least 3 to 4 structures of this. There will be keywords also where you can write your keyword and extend it. I'm going for the basic demo here. So this in a full automation integration framework, in a full automation comprehensive test framework, you will have all this in different files and you'll have a proper structure. Right now for demo, we are having in one file. In settings, I have to use libraries. Library. What are the libraries I'm calling? I'm using. That is already there. I'm not writing anything, I'm reusing. To go back, if I have to explain, libraries, test libraries. Here. I may need a request libraries. There's a tab here after library. Tab. Then I need collections. You will get to know why I need collections. Then I need a built-in libraries to use some built-in keywords. So again, coming back to my demo, I have to log in. This is my base URL. This is the .com URL. So I have to use dollar base underscore URL equals tab equal copy equal v. Base URL defined. Let me put it under variables. Then I'll define a test case here. So test, I can say basic authentication pass. Yes. I have to create a variable structure for a username and password also. So this is my test case and this is my basic auth pass test. I have to create authentication data. create list tab where when username is admin and password is admin. So this is where my built-in keyword will work. Collections. I'm creating a list here. This is my keyword which will help me to create a list with two variable values in it. Then I'm creating a session to log in. Create session. Create session will be alias, right? So I will have my session here in a tab, my session and base URL. I'm going to create a session base URL. Right. I've created the base URL. I'm creating a session. Again, create session is a keyword coming from request library. This is a suggestion from my IDE. Create session. Now I will have to establish the session and collect the data. Response. This is my response string equals for assigning the data. It's again a keyword in inbuilt keyword. Session gets session on. Get on session. Where I will be passing my session along with the auth data, along with the URI. That it means you may be able to connect my session tab base. Now what it means is when I log in for basic authentication, where is it here? The base URL is have a suffix or attached with this basic underscore auth. It is called URI, and it will be going in my get on session keyword to establish the connection and get the response. So basically my response has to be this page, and I have to validate using automation. So this is my keyword done. Get on session. Then I'm going to log this in formatting. Formatting is a great feature of a robot framework. Log to console. It is very easy, handy. Log to console a message. So what am I doing? Dollar response dot content, I think. Yeah, dot content. Response dot content. Then it will be response will be a form of JSON object, so I have to use it. For formatting it, you don't need to. For formatting to log reports, you don't need to actually work on the structure, but for parsing, let's say I want to parse particularly this message, then I have to response, I have to convert into string equals tab convert to string, yeah, convert to string, convert to string, convert to string response dot content. The response dot content. So I will be converting the content of this JSON object that I've received to a string format, and I want to validate it using should contain keyword. Should contain keyword. Response string should contain this key. This is what is my validation point. Entire string. If I get this string in my response in my automation framework, it is passed. I'm going to paste it here. Right. This is my test case. Control S. Save this test case. Go to the folder. This is my folder. Right now I have this test case here. So I will run it from my terminal here. CD. The folder name should be, yeah, okay, it is available in this folder itself. So test this robot test case underscore basic or dot robot. Execute this test cases. It will be executed saying failed. Let's see what is the issue. It would be creating a log report here. Report. All test. Go to all test. Basic auth fail. This is the use case of the structure. How useful it is. We have got 404 error, not found. URL not found. Base auth. This URL is not found. So I might have made mistake. It is basic auth. So I have to correct this. Basic auth. Control S. Once again I run. Clear the screen. Robot. Test is running. I've got one more error here. Let me see from my folder. Report. All test. Go to the test. Unauthorized for URL. So basically it is unauthorized now, it is saying. Basic auth. Admin. I'm trying to do a manual entry. Congratulations. I just found out that it still has the same issue, but with the same issue, but with the correct basic URL. What I figured out is when we create a session, we are not passing the credentials in my test case. So I have to pass auth is the keyword. Auth is the keyword, and I have to pass the variable auth data. This is what is expected to create a session. Control S. Clear the terminal. Also run the test. Looks like we have passed now. Pass results. Let me flush the console. Report. Go to the report. So we have a clear test case now. I can go to all test case name, and I can run through the law formatting of the law. So this is the demo for bringing in the feature of robot framework, how uh, relevant it is for automation in specific domains. Thank you all.